Yes, yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. This is the first episode of the Maxfield High Rollaz Podcast. We will be dealing with some matters that are real, relatable, and uplifting. So I ask that all the persons who are in reach of my voice, that you turn up your speakers, you turn up your phone, turn up whatever device you're using so that you can hear this discussion here today. My name is Ravi Wallace and I am from the Church of God 7-Day located at 58 Maxfield Avenue, not 57, could never be 56 or 55, 58 Maxfield Avenue. And today we have a brother. He goes by the name Novack Barnes. And we're going to be speaking to Mr. Barnes a little bit about his life and his Christian journey. So I ask that each of you take some time to listen in on this discussion. Share, subscribe, and like. Tell a friend, of course, because we want them to hear this discussion today. So, Mr. Novack Barnes, welcome.
Thanks for having me here. It's a real pleasure. I know that we spoke about this for some time, and I'm happy to know that we finally got to a place where we could actually record. You know, we're supposed to do this weeks ago, delay after delay, but by the grace of God, we're here. We're actually able to record.
Right, for sure. Thank you for that. So let's dive right into our discussion here today. How would you describe yourself to someone meeting you for the very first time? Who exactly is Novack Barnes?
I'm pretty laid back. Married, 2 children. I would not call myself outspoken, but I find ways and means how to express, emotions and all that type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So you said that you have 2 children. Are you considering having a third?
Oh no.
No. Okay. We'll dive into that. All right. Can you tell us a bit about your early life?
Sure. So for my early life, I guess I could start at basic school maybe. For my mother's side of the family, they were all teachers. So for basic school, I attended my mother's school. For primary school, I attended.
What school was that?
This was Clarion Basic School. This was
Clarion.
Okay. So this was located in Marvally. School is still going strong. God bless my mother's soul. She has taught almost everyone in that community. For primary school, I went to George Headley Primary School. That was a school that my aunt taught at. She was the grade 4 coordinator and later became the vice principal before she retired. After there, I went to none other than Kingston College.
For the listeners, I think Mr. Barnes mentioned a great institution a while ago. Can you repeat?
Kingston College is such an amazing school. It's not just for academics or sports. You can become an amazing business person from just attending the school. And I'm not referring to, you're going to business class or anything like that. No, our principles of accounts. No, that's not what I mean. I mean that this is a school where I went to and I witnessed first my peers when I was in grade 10 make their first $1 million from different ventures. And from that point, I've seen many of my peers come out of this institution making millions and making strides in the industry, in the world, in the greater world. I can tell you a short story. I was at work on Thursday. And one of my classmates, someone I had business with back in the day when we were in school, and he was in the business of starting his own dispensary for cannabis. And I was so happy for him because it is not easy to get to that point,
Yeah, for sure.
It really isn't easy. And like my hat goes off to that school and how it teaches us to have this overwhelming drive to win, to overcome despite everything.
I never know what persons would have gone through to accomplish their greatness. Because I always say to persons, you see the glory, but you don't know the story.
True.
So would you say that Kingston College played an important part in your development?
Yes, absolutely. It did. It really did.
Okay, that is good to know. And so for the persons who are listening, if it is that you have a son and you are trying to think about what school to place them or to get them into, always consider Kingston College. No other school but Kingston College. All right, first choice, never second. Can you share with us, Mr. Barnes, what your family dynamic was like growing up?
Sure. It wasn't. I wouldn't say we weren't rich. We weren't off means. My dad was a jack of all trades. I knew that when I was younger, before I could even have memories of this job. He worked at Seprad,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that was before my brother was born. After During this entire period, my mother was a teacher. In fact, my mother has only ever had one job,
Teaching.
teaching. My mother said she first got her job, but when she was 18, and she still has the same job, and she intends to be there until she retires in about 3 years.
So the love for teaching.
Yes.
Okay, great. You mentioned your father,
Yeah.
and I know it's a sensitive topic, but let's get into it a little bit. Your father passed away some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share how this experience impacted your life? First, just kind of explain what happened, your initial reaction, and how you're dealing with it today.
Sure. So his name is Albert Colin Barnes. He died December 29th, 2015. So this year makes the 29th of December. This year makes 9 years.
Oh,
Yeah. December this year makes 9 years that he's been gone. And it really changed the way how I viewed death. When he died, he didn't die of natural causes. He was gunned down while working. I can remember the day just like it was yesterday. I think I was working at Xerox at the time. And at 8:05 my shift ended. And I got home not long after. And then it was coming up to 10 o'clock. I was watching TV. My brother was watching TV. My mother was on her phone. We know when it comes close to 10 p.m., we know that's about the time that my dad would get in. And something was off. My aunt called my mother and asked if my father had come home as it, and my mother said no, and she said okay, she'd call back. At that point, my aunt already knew what was happening, but I think she was just in disbelief about it. After that, my mother got a call from a complete stranger saying that my dad was shot. And then I can remember that I started praying that he'll be okay, and my mother started to pray and cry, and then the person called back and then they said that he was already dead. So essentially he died on spot. How has it affected me? As it relates to death, I don't fear death anymore, since that was the closest person that I've been to funerals before. You see the mourning, you see the tears, you see the sorrow, you experience all of that grief, but it doesn't really impact you because you're not that close to whoever that's laying before you. But at that point, I dreamt and I had, dreams about everyone around me, everyone I cared about dying. And after that, you could say that I became desensitized on the matter, and nothing really shook me anymore as a result, as it regards to death. When my dad died, it kind of pushed me to be the man of the house. So I did my best to contribute how best I could. I worked. One of the lessons my dad taught me was, if you can't do it good, don't do it at all. Another lesson he taught me is how to work hard. I would witness my dad leave home at 4 a.m. to start working, and on some days he wouldn't get home until 1 o'clock, just to sleep for 3 hours and then back out at 4:30. And that really pushed me in my younger years to really work and work and work and work, so that I could ease the strain off my mom. And I was able to do that, thanks be to God. And then things kind of changed when I had or when I got my family, or my family started. And now, primarily that role of being the supporter in my mother's household is really my brother.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, thank you for sharing that. I know that it is something difficult to talk about, and losing a parent is never something that is easy. It is never something that you should wish on anybody, especially in the way that your father would have passed. And, you just have to continue praying the strength.
Yes.
Persons will never truly understand what it is like to lose a parent until they lose one of their own. And so I keep saying to persons, when someone died, don't say to them, oh, God knows what's best, or, oh, I understand, because you don't. Yes, we know that God knows what's best, but I don't think that is the right time to say something like that. So that's a very unfortunate loss, and, that will put a lot of things into perspective for a number of us. And I encourage those persons who are listening to this podcast to draw closer to God, because you never know when it's your time. You never know when unexpectedly death will reach you. The story of Novack's father is unfortunate, very unfortunate. But I ask that you all continue to pray him up daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Sir Barnes. Now, let's move forward. I realize that you mentioned something about your children, but we're going to get into that shortly. What has your journey been like as a husband and father?
As a father, I can remember that in the preparation phase, I said, okay, just need to put some money together and everything will work out.
Mm-hmm.
And my partner said that you need to read this and you need to read that.
Mm.
And I said, sure. And I procrastinated. I never read anything.
Right.
I didn't read anything. I remember when NJ was just born.
Who's NJ?
He's Novack Jr.
Okay.
So
That's the first child?
yeah, that's my first child.
Okay.
He's 2 years and 10 months. No.
Okay.
I remember when he was just born, I was petrified of, just holding him. I was in the hospital where at UE, and he came out and I saw him and I was like, yes, because labor was 24 hours. It was literally 20. Because we were up watching movies, and at midnight, her water broke. And when in the movies, when you see the dad running around, or like, okay, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? That was me. And she said, Novack, calm down. The bag is already packed.
Oh, she packed?
Yeah, the bag was already packed.
Oh.
So they said, okay, go to the car. So we got to the car, and me driving like a crazy person down from Hillshire all the way to UE. And she's like, Novack, take time. I said, okay, no problem. So we got there now. When I got there, I thought, okay, we're going to march into the living room.
Yeah.
Then we're going to come out. And then we're going to go home later in the day. That is what I thought. Oh, no.
It's longer.
Yeah, man. We got to the hospital and everything was just slow paced. And they're saying that they're waiting for her to get dilated. We waited and we waited and we waited. And I think it was at about 9:30 p.m. Until about at that point, I was completely exhausted, but I couldn't imagine what she was going through at the time. They said that, okay, so that's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
We're just gonna have to do a cesarean. I said,
What's that, C-section?
yeah, that's a
Okay.
C-section. I said, you know what? I said, okay, so sign some documents. And I just sat outside. They said that it should take 45 minutes. At the time, that was like about 9:45. They were there into the operation room. And I don't know when I fell asleep. You know, when I came to, it was 11:30. I was doing the maths. I'm like, what should I? What am I putting in it?
Yeah.
I was like, I was at the door. I was banging at the door. I said, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? I said, Mr. Barnes, calm down. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. You can come in shortly. I said, okay. So when I came in not too long after that. He was born at 11:40. He was born at 11.
The night.
Yeah, 11:40 p.m.
Okay.
Boy, that boy was crying and chewing on the blankets. And shortly after, they wheeled out my partner and brought her into the recovery room. And when I looked at him, I wanted to pull him, but I was so afraid because he was so small and so fragile. And I'm a bit of a klutz sometimes, and I don't want that to be. I want that to be my life story.
Yeah.
I wanted that to be my life story, so I had her take the lead for that, and then I held him shortly after. I think for a short period of time and gave him back. And like that was all she wrote. I realized that he was always going to be pussy early, because when we got home, no sleep.
No
sleep. He woke up, he would microfeed, he would just drink like half a fluid ounce and go back to bed. Wake up in 10 minutes and start crying. Sure. And that was just it for about 3 weeks. I was like, boy, I love you, boy, but my God.
Yeah, no, it's
some sleep, some rest.
Yeah.
It was really some joy. It was real joy. And then I fast forward to my second child. So, like I said, NJ was born in February. I found out I was pregnant again.
You were pregnant?
Well, I wasn't pregnant. We were pregnant. We were pregnant again in September. And when I say stressing, I mean stressing because I'm like, okay, we were doing fine with NJ because we're being paid. We could save. I saw growth, no problem. Cool. But when we found out we were pregnant, I was stressing out because I'm like, oh, we're going to afford this. The second one. I'm like, oh, we're going to afford this. But I eventually calmed down, and then I found peace knowing that, okay, I know the ropes. I'm now a veteran. I'm now a veteran. Yeah. So nothing going to faze me.
Experience teaches wisdom.
Yeah, little did I know when he was born, they had to resuscitate him. So he didn't have a normal birth. He was resuscitated at birth, then rushed to ICU.
He nearly died.
I wouldn't put it that severely, but he wasn't breathing at birth.
Okay.
Which is, it's not normal, but it's one of the common things that can happen to a child. So that's where I first met him. I didn't meet him with her. I saw him in ICU, and he was being medicated for breathing because he wasn't breathing on his own. And that is just where the problem started. But he still is a fighter. A month after he was born, I realized that we realized that like he was just throwing up all the time. He wasn't keeping anything down, constant diarrhea. And after a while, I saw that he was losing a lot of weight.
Oh.
And that day when I came home from work and I looked at him, I said, there's no way. I don't think this is normal. Because from experience with our first child, we never had any reason ever to bring him to the hospital more than for vaccinations or just a routine checkup. So this was just shocking to me. So rushed him to children's. He was severely dehydrated. They couldn't really tell us what caused it, but they said that it was some bacteria. And I said, what type of bacteria? Because I'm healthy. My partner was healthy. My son was healthy. So I'm confused what makes him so special for some bacteria to be attacking him like that. So after about 3 weeks in the hospital, he was discharged. And 2 days later, we had to rush him back to the hospital. And like at that point, it started to take a toll on us because they were saying that, oh, these people are not feeding the child, or they're poisoning.
Who were saying that?
These were the remarks that we were hearing from the nurses and doctors, that we're not taking care of them, or we live in a cesspool. That's why the child keep getting sick. And this was it. This was the situation. And for every time they had an interview, I said that we live in a clean environment.
Why did they have to interview?
It's a part of protocol to understand where the child lives, because the child technically cannot speak for himself. So they need to get information from you. And they gave us advice on what to do. They gave us advice on formulas to take. After the third readmission, I said to them that, hey, this place, our home, is cleaner than this place. He gets new bottles, new formula, and he's put in a sterile room by himself, because at that point we were living in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, and the back room, the second room, was his crib and just him. Just to ensure that things were up and up. And before he came home, we ensured that we cleaned the place. We did everything. They even said that we should boil bottled water to ensure the water is super purified. I was like, okay, no problem. We did everything. And
still got sick.
There was this instant where after discharge, I was fighting not to bring him back, because I said that I just saw him vomiting and diarrhea. So I said, okay, I'm going to keep feeding him because I'm not going back there. And I realized that he wasn't getting better. I was like, okay, I'm going back. When we went back there, this wasn't even 24 hours yet. The doctors were furious, and they didn't cuss at us, We were adjacent. And they were saying, oh, this healthy baby leave not even 24 hours ago. And how him look like this now. These parents are starving the child. What are they doing to the child? That was the first time they saw our other son, NJ, healthy and strong. And the type of remarks that we heard that day, doctors were saying the only reason we came down here to help is because we just don't want this baby to die. Yeah, so me and my partner, we really went through it at that hospital, because...
And that's UA?
No, this was not UA. This was... I will not name the hospital, right? But the hospital knows itself. We really went through. In fact, I broke down that day, because I'm like, we're doing everything that they are telling us to do. And it was so bad that the next day, I lost it on the doctor. The doctor was doing an interview at this point. She had a cool head. My head was not cool. She said she's trying to find out what's happening. I said, doctor, let me break this down to you. My child came here, and I keep telling you the only thing different from what you're doing and from what we're doing is whatever formula you're giving my child and the cocktail of drugs you pump into my child. I don't have that cocktail of drugs. And I do not have that formula. That's what I said to her. Furthermore, you are not discharging this child or I will not take this child home until this child is healthy. Because no one is going to let me look like a worthless parent for doing everything that I can. I am not a doctor. It is your job to resolve this issue, and you have not resolved this issue. Since my child has been in this hospital, he has contracted meningitis. He had to get blood transfusions. He caught dengue. What else? I can't even recall.
A lot of things.
But there were several things that he contracted at the hospital, you know. And I said that he didn't contract, and I said to her that he did not contract any of these things at our home. Furthermore, I have another child and he's healthy. If I was living in such a quote-unquote cesspool that you believe that I live in, why is my other child healthy? Why am I not? Why am I healthy? Why is my partner healthy? And she was so baffled that I spoke to her like that. That she said that she's going to do some more research. I said that when you go ahead and do your research, please check and tell me what it is that you're giving my son, because at this point that is the only difference. The next day she came back and told me that he was allergic to milk. So for every time we left, they prescribed some milk-based formula, and it was making him terribly sick. And in the hospital, they were giving him milk-based formula. But the only reason he never crashed out was because of the cocktail of drugs that he was under. So they were giving him the medication while giving him formula that was making him sick. So it was just basically sustaining him to a point in the hospital. So he really never got better in the hospital.
So they were killing him technically?
Essentially, yes. And if I didn't lose it on the doctor for her to actually do some work, she would not have come to a conclusion on that.
That's crazy. How is he now though?
Going strong. I believe that it's not I believe. I know that being in the hospital for as long as he was and all the trauma, developmentally, he's not where he should be. But he is showing signs that he is learning and he's growing. But I wish that there was a solution sooner, because I believe if proper research was done or they listened to us from the initial stages of things, he would have been in and out in probably like 2 weeks instead of spending like 5 months in the hospital.
So, Mr. Barnes, we have seen where our young persons are considering marriage. Quite a number of them can't wait to get married. It's like the in thing now. My friend is doing it, so I need to get married too. I know that you are a married man. So can you give us, or can you describe your experience with marriage so far, and why did you decide to get married?
My experience with marriage is, it's not easy. A lot of people on the outside will make it look like it's like work, it's all hugs and kisses and smile. But it takes a lot of work to make it work, because it's easy to make it end. All two people have to say is, we're done. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time. It's two different people trying to come together to achieve similar goals. And some of the times we find ourselves in relationships. This is even before marriage. We find ourselves in relationships that we don't see growing or working with us, because for whatever reason we believe there's a level of incompatibility. And in marriage itself, there will be things about you that your partner will not like. And there will be things about your partner that
you don't like.
Exactly. And to prevent resentment and hate, it's best to completely open the lines of communication to ensure that you guys can work things out. Like I said, it's not easy. It really isn't easy. It has been extremely trying. but I know that with enough work, it will work out.
Mhm.
I believe with enough work, it will work out.